Mind Your Business is brought to you by Today's Business, making business social. What can a successful nonprofit business teach a for-profit business about success, about leadership traits, about vision, about dealing with failure and coming back stronger? Stay tuned. We'll be right back with Mind Your Business. Welcome back. I'm Barry Farber, and this is Mind Your Business, where we get inside the minds of people and business leaders in New Jersey and all over the world. But I wanted to share something with you because I think what's more important than anything else in this life is one single word that they rated the most important out of every successful trait in the country. When they did surveys, Harvard did surveys with business leaders, executives, what were their most successful reasons why they achieved? And it had to do with knowledge. It had to do with experience, intelligence, and the fourth, attitude. And they ranked them all. You know where attitude came? Attitude was 93% of all the others. 93% attitude. And it reminded me of a story years ago I heard of these two gentlemen walking down the street going to work, and one of them would stop at the newspaper stand and buy his paper like he does every morning with his friend, and he'd say, "Thank you very much, have a great day," to the newsstand person behind the counter. And it never said anything to him like, "Have a great day, thank you." He just ignored him, didn't say a word. But every day, every week, every month, every year, for like 4 years, him and his buddy would go past the newsstand, he'd get the paper, he'd go, "Thanks a lot, have a great day," and still no response. And his friend said, "Why do you even say have a great day? Why do you even do that?" And his answer was, "Because I'm not going to let that person determine how I act for the day." And it just seems like it's an amazing factor that if you look at great success, you'll see that a lot of deficiencies are in their field, a lot of problems they might have had, but they have one overriding success trait, and that is they're passionate about what they do, they love what they do, they have a great attitude, and that's who our next guest is going to be. It's going to be one of the leaders, CEO, president of one of the best shelters, animal shelters in the country. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
I have been a full-time shelter person and animal advocate for 15 years. And before that, a board member, volunteer for another 10. You know, we really wanted to make a big improvement in our cat life saving. And we wanted to implement a suite of programs, and one of them was these off-site cat adoption kiosks. I thought this was a great idea. My volunteers did not think this was a great idea. And I made a presentation. And I helped provide information and education to people who loved our cats. Today we have 10 off-site adoption kiosks, fully manned by volunteers, and through that and a suite of other programs and new ideas, we have slashed our cat euthanasia from 31% to year-end rolling April 30th, 6%. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Heather Cammisa is the president and CEO of St. Hubert's Animal Welfare Center. Heather is the first in New Jersey animal welfare to have achieved the signature designation of Certified Animal Welfare Administrator. She's been at the organization's helm since 2010, and under her guidance, St. Hubert's has risen to the leadership role regionally and nationally. Her experience throughout the nation and her vision for the future inspired the creation of St. Hubert's innovative sister shelter way station program. Heather, it's great to have you. Thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it. Yes.
Thank you.
And you know why I came? I was interested in having St. Hubert's. This is a show about business, about mind your business, and you know we get ideas on inspiration in life, business, and everything. But you're a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. But I just was inspired because over 12 years ago I got our first dog was Hershey for our family, who was saved from Katrina. And the service that you provided there ever since then, and we went back a bunch of times, and seeing you grow has been amazing. So I just really appreciate you coming on, and I would just love to have you kind of talk about that part of it, the Katrina, what you were involved in with that, even to start.
Sure. So that was before I came to St. Hubert's. As you pointed out, I came to the organization in the middle of 2010. But I went to the region impacted by Hurricane Katrina because, you know, for all the devastation, it really raised public awareness of issues faced by the Deep South, issues that people in the South had been trying to get attention for years. So at the time I was working with a national organization, a national animal welfare organization, and a few of the national groups came together, put together some funding and said, we need to assess the extent of overpopulation in the Deep South, the sheltering system, what infrastructure is in place, what infrastructure is needed. And you know, they wanted to do it in a sophisticated way, and that's something, you know, a lot of people don't realize is how sophisticated the field has become, which is wonderful. The professionalization and sophistication. So being a former economist, I sort of was tapped, and we created quantitative studies of owners of unaltered pets, and also went around, and I walked in the doors of over 50 shelters.
50 shelters in the South?
In the South, and worked with them to collect information about how many animals were coming in from their community dynamics. And we put all this together and made some really targeted investments and message spay-neuter, and also we were able to articulate what they face, which were much lower rates of spay-neuter by the public, how to move the needle on that, so a whole social marketing campaign. And I see some of these folks now, and the progress they have made is absolutely incredible.
So in any business, our awards are directly in proportion to the service most of the time. You know, how you serve that customer, the business around you, and what you do, the passion you must have, the rewards you get. What's a story, I know you have many of them, that really makes you wake up in the morning and says, I love what I'm doing because here's what I'm doing it for? Anything you can?
You know, that's a question we do get asked a lot. Anyone that's in, you know, nonprofit. And for me, and some people, you know, it's that adoption and that just makes it for them. And there is something that they specifically visualize or hold on to. For me, it's just being a part of the solution. You know, and the more you're involved with something, the more you're aware. You can never roll back awareness. You know, so that's why I say it just keeps pulling you in more and more because you're aware of the need, you're aware of ways that you can get involved to be a part of the solution. And so for me, it's just the day in, day out. It's virtuous work. It is its own reward. But being a part of the solution is it for me.
Right. So you're a leader. You have a great mission. You know, you call it your strategic plan, your strategic overview. You said keep it simple. Talk about that. What is it unique about that you're passionate about when you set up a plan? You're a leader. You have to have goals. You have to get those goals disseminated to people so they all embrace it and they own it. How do you do that?
You know, same way that, and a lot of what we need to bring are tools and techniques of the for-profit world into the nonprofit world, you know, and that was part of the Gulf Coast project that I worked on, you know, and when we looked at how do we message spaying and neutering to the public, you know, they do ad testing, cognition testing, you know, they develop messaging based on research, and that was the way we approached that. And so, you know, we need a strategic plan in our nonprofits. And so we, you know, went through the process that most people are familiar with. You do surveys around, inside, outside the organization. You benchmark and look at, you know, other organizations, what the needs are in the field, and then you all get together, you lock the door, and you don't leave until you've got a product. And that was actually a big push by me. We hired a consultant to help us with that day of, and all the stickies all over the walls, and the right people in the room for that, and a leadership team. And you know, because we have to pick what is going to be our focus. Because you can really, you know, shiny ball, run around and chase around a lot of things. There's a lot we want to do, but what are we going to measure everything up against when we make decisions? It makes, it enables me to move nimbly. It enables people in our organization to move nimbly because we can say, yep, this lines right up with that, go. I don't have to call a board meeting, check on this, you know. And so it just—
keep it simple.
I'm a big fan of the keep it simple, stupid principle, if I can say that. The KISS principle, yes.
Yeah. It was, I'd interviewed the head of Marriott, VP there, and he said something interesting. He goes, we had these mission statements that were pages. Nobody ever read them.
Yeah.
So we came up with a mission statement that was 3 words. I go, what? He goes, everyone leaves satisfied. So pretty much everybody who works there can figure that out. Our job is to make sure everybody's happy and ecstatic with, So but obviously
He beats me, yeah.
But no,
we're one page,
But one page is great, and your actions and so forth. What are traits of a great leader? What do you think?
Okay. Well, I think obviously a vision, drive, constant learner. There's always more for me to learn. I look for bright spots and focus on bright spots, and I think great resilience and rebounding too.
I love that.
We don't get pulled into, okay, this didn't work, all right, well, we're going to go try that. And fearlessness, you have to try things, and that's where I really push our team. Where it's like, oh, this is hard, this happened. Okay, well, stand up on your tippy toes, look a little bit further and wider, how we're going to figure it out. Pushing, sometimes we try a new program, and when I first came to St. Hubert's, for example, the volunteers weren't a big fan. I wanted to put some cats in some off-site adoption kiosks out in storefronts and other areas, because I really believe you got to take the cats to the people. Mm-hmm. We were getting a lot of people coming to visit us for dog adoptions, but we have all these great cats, and we needed to get them in the community. Mm-hmm. And our cat volunteers were very happy that the cats were at our shelter. They didn't want them out in these other kiosks and thought people might bang on the little window or harass the cats, and they just had these concerns. And so we really had to push it forward and say, look, we're gonna track return rates, we're gonna put these measures in place, you gotta go with it here, and we're gonna report back honestly, but we're going to do this. So you're either on or you're off. Yeah. And now our volunteer sets today can't imagine a St. Hubert's that doesn't have 12 off-site cat adoption locations.
You're very big with action. I see that. I hear that. I did a little homework, and that's key. Action. You could sit and plan forever, but the action itself is the learning, is the feedback that helps you make better action next time. You just said some things that we should capture as the leadership traits of, vision, constant learning, fearlessness, not to be fearful of taking action, but there's safety and risk and safety. If you play it safe, you don't get the rewards that maybe doing something extra could make a huge difference in somebody's life or the business. Talk about learning. Share with me about how do you learn every day? What do leaders need to be readers, I believe? They constantly need to absorb things so that they can get passionate. It gets me excited to learn something new so that I can share that. What do you do to learn? What would you say to somebody out there who's running a business that, whether it's nonprofit, for-profit, they need to do every day?
Well, I keep a close eye on other organizations that are doing great work. I see what they do. I participate in professional associations, and boy, that's hard to find time for when you're running an organization every day. We have 4 locations, 100 and some employees, 1,000 volunteers. I mean, I very much could get distracted in detail, and I really try to make sure that I'm engaging in these national committees and these conversations and staying abreast and participating in directing the movement. So it's just that's non-negotiable. I find time for that. I create time for that. So I think that, and then once you're around those, surround yourself or make sure that you're in the audience of other people that are visionaries and are getting great things done. Yeah.
Right, wise advisors. People don't, I remember somebody said, Barry, you got to find people who are intelligent and high integrity. And those 2 things will pretty much guarantee that mentor is effective. Obviously somebody's not afraid to take action and give you real feedback too.
Yeah, so important. Yeah.
What about, obviously we're going to get into more things that you're passionate about, this transport system, this program that you do. In the next segment, I want to learn more about that because we're going to have a special guest come on too, right?
Yes, we are.
Yes. Can we tease somebody what that special guest, who that individual is, or?
Four-legged.
Four-legged, okay.
Four-legged.
So we know, okay. But I would like to, just before we go to break, what are your thoughts about, I am just amazed at what my dog is like for 12 years. It is just given back so much love, and it's what you put in, what you get out, I believe, with dogs. But it's, who knows, it's maybe a mixture of 70 different dogs. I'm telling you, it's got so many different, but your feelings towards, these designer dogs versus saving some animals that are going to just be killed, you know.
What's wonderful is that the public has really, where we've come in animal welfare, the social desirability of adoption. PetSmart Charities hired, I think it was Ipsos, did a survey. The supermajority of people say that when they get their next pet, they're going to look at adoption. And that's just so exciting to see where that's come. And now we're about 30% of the pet acquisition market, you know, and people adopt, and that just continues to grow, which is wonderful. People know that they're, you know, there was this perception years ago that they must be damaged goods if they're in a shelter. You know, that was like such a frustrating point for us, those of us in animal welfare, because we have these beautiful, wonderful animals. But people, I really believe a lot of people need to have a just world. So in order for the world to make sense to them, right, like the only way that an animal would be in a shelter, there must be a reason, you know, and they come in and we hear that all the time. Why is this dog here? It's a puppy. Why? That's a purebred, that's a this, that's a that. And, you know, the majority of reasons animals are in shelters have no connection to their behavior. You know, it's moving and divorces and other human circumstances.
People can't take care of that.
Yeah, things happen. And so, you know, my dog and I, we run a children's camp every summer.
You have a dog that is a therapy dog, right?
Yeah, she's
but
a
you know what? I
dog.
want to get into that when we come back. I want to get into about St. Hubert's, about what people should know about St. Hubert's, but also I was fascinated with all the things you're doing and how you've changed it and grown over the years to maybe transfer that knowledge. So anybody running any business, this is Mind Your Business. Let's get inside the mind of Heather and see what you do to run that business efficiently. And we'll also have a visit from a friend when we come back. It's Barry Farber with Heather Cammisa. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Barry Farber, and this is Mind Your Business. We're with Heather Cammisa, the president and CEO of St. Hubert's Animal Welfare Center, and we have a special guest.
We do.
Sylvia.
This is Sylvia, and she is just sweet as can be. She's 12 weeks old, and she's already spayed. She's ready to go home, and it's that time of year, summertime. We have a lot of animals in our program care. We have over 700 animals in our care.
700?
Over 700, yeah, between all the locations, foster homes, off-site cat adoptions, and this is, you know, we have over 200 kittens in care right now, so we are running a kitten promotion.
How cute is she? This is what sells, right? I mean, this has to be something that just sells your whole idea.
Yeah, I mean, nothing tells our story in the work that we do than, you know, images and the animals themselves.
Yeah, I'm allergic to cats. You know that.
I knew that, and I still brought
just
Sylvia with
testing
me.
It. Well, I figured I've been eating differently. Maybe I can get rid of this allergy.
Well, check it out.
Yeah. So I'm going to test it. You know, so if I get all, you know, start sneezing, let's see, I love it. Beautiful.
Feel her purring?
God, yes. Look at that face. Can you get that face? Look at that little face. Oh my God.
So summertime is really busy for us with all the kittens, and it's not a time of year that we do a lot of fundraising, right? People are on vacation and graduations and getting kids out to college, and so there's really a gap between when we have tremendous program expenses in the summer. We also run the children's camp I was mentioning and other programmatic work, and when fundraising and other support comes in. So we definitely have to plan well throughout our year to make sure that we can achieve for the animals, right?
Tell us about St. Hubert's, like to the person who's not aware of what you do, the whole facility. Like, what would you say to them as far as, here's what we do, this is who we are?
Yeah, St. Hubert's is a nonprofit animal welfare agency founded in 1939. We have campuses throughout central and northern New Jersey. We have 4 locations, and we serve a very dear mission to not only care for animals directly, for our community, but to foster an environment in which people respect all living creatures. So we offer a wide array of programs to do that. You're nibbling on me, I have to get you a toy. And you know, we also advance animal welfare by participating in national conversations and direction of the field, and really work to professionalize and make sure that we are as effective and impactful, not only as an individual organization, but as a cause overall, so that we can do the most good.
That's great. That's amazing. You know, I'm thinking about what you said before about leadership, and I just loved all those little the sayings that you talked about. And I want to talk about fear. Why fear blocks more people from taking action.
Yeah.
You know, here you're a nonprofit, but I'd like you to share something in that realm of why it's so important for people to just step over into a new area that they've not been in, just because of what that does to our growth. That's the only way to grow is you know, getting past our fears. Fear is, I use it as an acronym because it's false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks, oh my God, and then all of a sudden they do it, and it's nothing as bad as they thought it would be because it's in their mind built up so much.
Yep.
What do you think about how organizations, whether they're nonprofit or for profit, should operate as looking at ways to take risks?
Well, you know, it's so easy to find a reason you can't do something.
Right.
Right? Don't let that artificial hurdles. There's just we have no tolerance for that at St. Hubert's. We actually say can't lives on won't street, that you just won't do it. We like to fall forward.
Can't lives on won't street like to fall forward, yeah.
Yeah. An example quickly is when Superstorm Sandy hit New Jersey, we created a foster-based system so that people who were without housing would not have to give up their pets. So when Superstorm Sandy happened, the first phone calls that I was asked to sit on were, we have to have big adoption events for all these people that are going to have to give up their animals. And I said, wait a minute, shouldn't we be focusing on how we help people keep their animals? So we very quickly, it was me and a couple friends staying up at night on dueling laptops, and we used a platform that AmeriCorps uses for their volunteers, called Ning at the time. I'm not sure if that's still the name. And we created a mechanism by which all this public interest in helping people who suffered because of the storm and all the people that need help connect with one another. And we just overlaid our expertise. So we gave advice, we created a foster contract. So essentially what happened is a person meets another person who needs help, fosters their animal, they come up with an agreed set of how they're going to communicate with each other, work with each other, and then we support that foster home. We give them supplies, if they need help with training, food, whatever. And we did it, and people said, oh, aren't you afraid that people are going to sue you? Aren't you afraid that...
There we go.
Right, yeah, here comes all the reasons why not to do it. So what are we going to do? Take those animals in the sheltering system when they have loving homes that are just, you know, they got their homestead ripped away from them? So we had 1,200 people sign up in the first 3 weeks to be volunteers, because again, there's an incredible desire by people to help other people in that situation. And when the emergency shelter that was run by the Humane Society of the United States in Barnegat shut down, not one of those animals that people wanted to try to keep and not surrender had to be surrendered. They went into foster homes. And sometimes the foster went to the hotel the people were staying at, picked them up, and together they went and did the transfer of the animals so that when the emergency shelter went down, they went into the foster home. So, that was us just being, and that's what I love about being at St. Hubert's, because we can be nimble. Nimble is so important to me. I think if I was with a national group, it would have been like, this is a good idea. The next disaster, we should look into doing that. And we did it in that disaster. And it, worked out great.
The benefits have been tremendous, and you have to look at that. What is the risk, but the reward is great,
And there's always going to be a problem somewhere.
Right, sure.
You can't avoid every problem. If that's what you're trying to do, then sit back, because there's always going to be bumps and hurdles. And, You know, last year when we created a program, I think we're going to talk about a little bit later, you know, we just went for it. And yeah, there was some operational hits because, you know, you're growing and learning and adapting. We're going to figure it out.
Right. Winston Churchill said, you know, there's some people see difficulty in every opportunity, and other people see opportunity in every difficulty. That when something happens like that, they say, oh, that's good. Well, you know what we can get out of that? Or, you know, here's a chance for us to do something, you know. And I think, you know, having that mindset to not be afraid of trying something new is what keeps people in business too. You know, keeps them successful, because if they just, I get worried if things are just going smooth all the time, even though, you know, because you're not changing or adapting or doing something different. To be aware to your environment. You're just maybe internally focused. So I think that's a great experience that you just shared.
Yeah, and just as a, you know, descriptive example, you know, of how we try to approach, you know, our operation and not let hurdles get in our way.
You have a story of somebody that gave you a little insight on technology and Facebook and.
Yeah, and you had asked me a question when we were off camera, and I had said I think it's really important to be able to look around your operation, for-profit, nonprofit, and identify talent. And sometimes they're right underneath your nose. And oh my goodness, how cute is she? She says, I'm talented. So a neighbor of mine had a nephew who loves animals. And you hear this a lot, right? People come up in my neighborhood and, you know, tell me their animals. And And she said, you know, my nephew, he wants to volunteer. Like, she was almost apologetic a little bit. He wants to volunteer at, say, he won't leave me alone, but I can't drive him in every day, but he can stay with me this summer. Could he volunteer with you? He was 16 at the time. And I said, sure, I'm going there every day anyway. He can ride in the car. And funny story is I had a senior dog, and everything was about my senior dog, and I had kind of filled the footwell of my front seat so that he didn't fall off, and as I would brace him in nice and safe. So this young man had to ride in the back seat. And I was on Route 10 driving into St. Hubert's, and we thought, you know, he's going to clean kennels and he's going to stock rooms and, you know, help us with laundry. And he pulls up our Facebook page. Now, this is a couple years ago. And he said, oh, you know, you have a check mark. That's good. I'm like, yeah, what does that check mark mean? I didn't know at the time. And he said, it means you've been verified. That's really good for your brand authenticity.
This is
16-year-old, right? And so then I said something. He goes, are you on Instagram or whichever, you know, platform he asked me about? And I said, you know, it's really a challenge in nonprofit. People think we have someone sitting in front of the computer to answer all these questions, and we just don't. You know, and they do this and this job and this job. So we don't have too many platforms. We try to do Twitter, and we try. And he's like, you just get this, and he named the name of the app. And he's like, and it'll pre-populate your other, or it'll populate your other.
All about this.
He knew all about how we could solve that problem. And I thought I was so smart. I said, oh, well, you can only have 140 characters on Twitter, and our Facebook post can go, it'll send you an email if it's too long and you just move the. I said, okay, you're not cleaning kennels today. You know, and he came upstairs.
Recognizing talent. That's
yeah, and you know, just sometimes I think, and I saw this when I was in the for-profit world, and you know, even in our recruiting or in our internal HR policies, we have people that they could only move up this much. But truth be told, if we recruited them from the outside, we might have seen them for different opportunities.
Right.
And or they would have been able to jump up to a different level. But for some reason around us, we don't recognize as much talent as we have.
Heather, I tell you what, every show I say this, and people are probably sick of me saying this, but it just goes so fast, and there's so many things I would like to explore, and who knows, love to have you on again. And you know, I just look, first of all, you answered all the questions so smooth. Here you have a cat running around on you like that, and you know, you're very focused. I appreciate that. And
well, I've got the best job.
Sylvia, look at that. I'm not sneezing yet, so I'm okay. Maybe I'll have to adopt this cat.
Well, fostering,
see if
foster
I get
to adopt.
Permission from my boss, you know.
We do trial adoptions. We do foster to adopt. So we'll talk with the family.
Well, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much.
It was nice to meet you. And Sylvia. Sylvia. Let's say goodbye. All right, I'm good, right? Look at that. Whoa. It's Barry Farber. Thank you for joining Mind Your Business. We'll see you next time. Mind Your Business is brought to you by Today's Business, making business social.